I'm gonna show you something very, very sad, and it might make you cry. It made me cry, and it's a little boy talking about his sister passing and what their mom did to her. And I just have to give a mental health warning. It's a 7-year-old little boy, and it's very, very difficult to watch, and it's very, very hard to forget. So if you think that listening to something like this is gonna harm your mental health, please skip this video. I will see you in my next one.
Can you tell me what a lie is?
It's not the truth.
Who is this, or what is this?
My mama
Okay. And what is she doing?
killing my sister,
How is she doing that, AJ?
putting her hand over her face.
That woman sitting right there between them. Have you ever seen her before?
Yes, sir.
Who is that?
My mother.
AJ,
Yes, sir.
give me your hand. All right. Here. Here.
I saw that video on my For You page and I just couldn't stop thinking about little AJ, so I looked into the details of the story and now I'm going to share it with you. On August 8th of 2007, authorities received a 911 call from Amanda Lewis. She was calling to report that her little girl, Adriana Hutto, had fallen into the pool and she was blue and unconscious. Amanda Lewis was a single mother living in Esto, Florida with her 2 children, 7-year-old Adriana and 6-year-old AJ. The kids had different fathers. Amanda worked as a nurse assistant in a hospital and she was often gone for long periods of time overnight working night shifts. And oftentimes she would have family and friends help her out with the kids. And raising 2 little kids is not easy, but for Amanda, she found it to be even harder because of Adriana. Adriana had been diagnosed with ADHD, meaning that her brain just worked a little bit different. And she was always excited and curious and full of ideas. She had a lot of energy and big emotions that would make it hard for her to sit still and remain focused because every hour of the day she was full of energy. She was such a happy, imaginative little kid, but she often did need a little bit of help just staying organized and on task, and learning how to work with her personality was hard for Amanda. Even when Adriana was just a little baby, Amanda would say that she had a really hard time bonding with her daughter. Whereas on the other hand, AJ was described to be still very sweet, very kind, very good kids, but he was more so reserved. So the kids were different in that way. And neighbors would often see Amanda losing her patience with Adriana on a regular basis. The morning of August 8th in 2007, Amanda had just gone home from a night shift and she went off to go take a nap, leaving the kids alone to watch TV. And in their backyard, they had one of those pools, like the above ground pools, but the kids were not allowed to play in it unless Amanda or a different adult was supervising them. The pool itself was 4 feet high, so it was hard for the kids to be able to get into the pool by themselves, but they had a little ladder, and when they were not swimming, Amanda would lock away the ladder in their storage shed in the backyard. So eventually Amanda gets up, she starts getting the things together to go out, leave the house with the kids to go run some errands, while Adriana and AJ were playing outside. At some point, according to Amanda, AJ walked inside and he said, "Mom, Adriana is in the pool." But apparently Amanda didn't think anything of it because she knew the ladder was locked away in the shed, and on top of that, Adriana was known to be terrified of water, so it's not like she would have voluntarily gone into the pool by herself, especially knowing that she wasn't allowed to. So Amanda assumed that AJ meant that Adriana was just playing around the pool, so she stayed inside when AJ walked back outside. When she eventually did walk outside, she saw AJ trying to pull his sister out of the water with his little hand, and that's when, according to her, for the first time, she realized that Adriana was inside of the pool, completely underwater. She rushed over, pulled her out, saw that she was purple and blue, and she called 911. When paramedics arrived, they saw Amanda sitting on the ground near the pool. They saw Adriana laying on the ground. They rushed over to try and help her because at that point she was still alive. They rushed her over to the hospital in an ambulance, but despite their best efforts, after less than an hour of being in the hospital, 7-year-old Adriana Hutto was gone. Shortly before she passed, when doctors were still holding on to hope, they were explaining the situation to Amanda and they asked her if she had any questions. She only had one question, which was, "Where is the vending machine?" That was her question. When they informed her that her daughter was gone, the doctor said that Amanda showed zero emotion. Adriana's autopsy showed that she passed due to being underwater for too long, and it was ruled an accident and the case was closed. Amanda went to the hospital with Adriana in the ambulance. AJ was taken by his grandparents back to their house to try and get him to cope with what he had just witnessed. Authorities were completely treating this like a tragic accident. They saw a little wagon next to the pool as well as a pan of sorts inside of the pool, and it was their belief that the kids wanted to play in the pool, but before playing they wanted to get the bugs out, so they assumed that Adriana stood on top of the little wagon, reached into the water with the pan to try and scoop out the bugs, accidentally accidentally fell in and then was unable to get out. But as soon as one of the sheriffs got back to the police station, he got a call from AJ's grandparents, and they told him that they needed to talk to AJ immediately for him to tell them what he had just told his grandparents. So AJ was taken to the station and he sat down with investigators. In his first interview, he said, quote, "Mama dunked Adriana into the pool," end quote. And in his second interview, he said, quote, "Mama threw my sister Adriana into the pool," end quote. He said Adriana started screaming and said, quote, "Mama said stop it, so I did stop it. So Adriana screamed, 'AJ called the police,' end quote." He said that his mom held down Adriana's face and he put his little hand over his face to show the investigators how she did it. And he said that his mom did that because she got mad at Adriana for spraying cleaning supplies inside of the house. Now, of course, AJ was 6 years old at the time, and authorities knew that, and they knew they had to take this into consideration, that little kids often say things that are not true. But it's the way in which he told the story, the way that his story was always the same, no matter how many different times he told it, that really struck a nerve for them. That, on top of the fact that doctors said that her reaction to losing her daughter was extremely weird, was enough for investigators to make the decision to reopen the case, and they began searching for the house for anything that could help them figure out what really happened that day. And the biggest thing that stood out to them, other than the fact that the house was absolutely filthy and dirty and smelled like urine, was the fact that despite having 2 small children, there were no toys at all. When they asked Amanda about this, she said that she would take the kids' toys away as punishment and she would lock them in the outdoor shed. But when they checked the outdoor shed, there were 0 signs of toys. And when they started talking to people who often interacted with Amanda and her kids, they said that Amanda was very harsh on Adriana specifically, and some neighbors even had reason to believe that both of the kids were extremely neglected. Amanda was brought in for questioning and she was told what AJ had said happened. Of course, she denied it. She said that AJ was just a little kid with a big imagination, and she actually did agree to take a polygraph test. She did pass it, but that wasn't enough to change the minds of law enforcement. And in September of 2007, Amanda was charged with first-degree murder. Prosecutors offered her a plea deal, giving her the opportunity to plead guilty to manslaughter, avoid a trial altogether, and serve a 10-year-long sentence. But she did not accept it. She wanted to go to trial, and her trial began in February of 2008. AJ, now 7 years old, was the primary witness for the prosecution. The defense tried everything in their power to keep AJ off the stand, saying that he was an unreliable witness, that he was too young, and that his story changed too many times. But the court disagreed, because no matter how many times little details shifted, one thing in AJ's story remained the same: the fact that he saw his mother intentionally hold his sister underwater. During the trial, the jury was shown autopsy photos and they heard medical evidence. Adriana had fingerprint-shaped bruises on her forehead, cheeks, and chin, injuries that matched AJ's story of events exactly. And when prosecutors asked Dr. Fox to demonstrate how those bruises could have been made, she slowly raised her hand and pressed it down on her face, mimicking the exact same motion that AJ used when he showed investigators what his mom had done. And it was in that moment that I think it sunk in for everyone that AJ had witnessed what he had been saying this entire time. The trial lasted 4 days, and it took the jury less than 2 hours to find Amanda Lewis guilty, and she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In 2010, she appealed her sentence, but that was denied. Yeah, I feel like this case is a controversial one in the way that some people think that AJ was absolutely 100% saying the truth, versus others do think that he was too young and that he could have been lying. But I want to know what you guys think. I just had to cover this story because I saw that video of AJ and it's gonna live in my head for years. That is all I have for today's story. Thank you for spending time with me today and for listening to Adriana's story. I hope you guys are having the best day. If not, go do something to make it the best day. Make somebody happy, and I will see you in my next video. Massive kiss on the forehead to every single one of you.